Hello, welcome to Design Time. I'm Jackie Lacey. This week we wanted to focus on using everyday foliage and coloring, sort of coloring our world with everyday foliages that we usually have in, but adding a spot of color where we might need some or where we might want to focus or bring that foliage into trend. As we look at what we're using, I want to say first a big, huge thank you to FernTrust here in Florida for supplying all the foliages. They're a great company to purchase from. Be sure and check them out on Facebook as well as on their website, FernTrust.com. Also too, we're using Design Master paints as well as Smithers OASIS paint, just because we're trying to achieve different effects, and different products are going to give you different effects when it comes to the foliage. What I really want to focus on is the fact that right now on the marketplace, we're seeing a lot of demand for metallics, for gray. Gray is like the new taupe. We see it everywhere. It's the new beige, and everyone wants it. So we might want to add in a little spot of that color like we've done here with the beautiful Monstera leaves. This is actually sprayed with the Color Regan from Smithers OASIS, and it's the opaque. Remember that this particular spray is water-based, meaning that it's going to be a little thinner. It's mostly water, so they suggest that you shake the can for about 4 minutes. No need to do a workout. You can just use your cans and do your workout in the morning when you're getting ready to spray. But there's different levels of intensity. So you want to look at whether you need the opaque, whether you might want to just add a thin layer, which is the translucent, or if you're looking for that beautiful, shiny, reflective metallic color, then they have something to fit all of those. Also, with something that is as much water, you're going to want to layer the paint. These have about 4 layers on them because I don't want the paint to run when I'm spraying. Lay it out in a very well ventilated area. You're going to spray a coat, let that dry a little bit, then spray another coat, let that dry, rinse and repeat, so to speak. So that way you get a nice, opaque, solid color that's not going to chip off or break off when the foliage is bent. That's really important because you want to make sure that it stays on there. With the gold, I am using the metallic paint from Design Master. They have some 14 karat gold that's really shiny and reflective. But right now, one of the other things that we're seeing on the marketplace is that beautiful matte finish. And that's really what I wanted with this particular gold. Combining different metallics, like we've done the silver representing platinum and the gold on this particular foliage, is a great way to bring and add those metallics into everyday designs. We could easily put in just a few blooms here of just about any color to make it work. Remember though that right now we're also seeing a high demand for foliage designs, meaning that these designs are created simply out of different types of foliage to give you different textures, different levels like we've done here. I also wanted to share a little trick with making sure your foliage can stretch. Like this is Aspidistra leaves, but it's only 2 of them. So what I'm doing is slicing right down that center vein so that it creates 2 pieces. Then I'm going to take those 2 pieces and slice right down the middle of those so that we see all of a sudden we have 4 distinct pieces to that piece of Aspidistra foliage. By looping it over, we get some of those beautiful loops, and you can go back and forth. You get the dark sort of matte finish on that back side, and on the front side we have a beautiful shiny emerald green foliage. But we can see how much more interest that creates by adding it in the loops. Again, that's only 2 pieces that are stuck in there with the loops pierced through with the stem. Make sure and cut your stem at an angle, and then that way it's easy to slide it right in. You want to spray it before you're going to slice it, just because then that way you get a good covering with that paint that's on there. On this particular foliage, this is Israeliruscus, and we wanted to just give it sort of that pearlized effect that we're seeing everywhere on the market. I did only one layer of this, and this is the metallic. Lightly sprayed, let it dry, and then we've mixed it in here. Now again, we could start with some beautiful white or ivory flowers added in there, and it gives it that wedding sort of pearlized look, which is in high demand. We happen to be in the fall of the year. Being in the fall of the year, quite often I want to add a little more color into something I'm doing. But all I have in the cooler is baker's fern or leatherleaf, as we know it on the market. So I've selected two different colors which work well with the design I wanted to create. I've sprayed both sides. Again, you want to make sure that you get it good and saturated. I've added in just a few berries and some of those beautiful waxed oak leaves to create a beautiful base that would be very economical. On the leatherleaf, once it's been sprayed, you can cut it into many different pieces that will allow you to add it in wherever you need that little spot of orange color, and you're not having to buy a specialty foliage. Now there are great uses for specialty foliage out there, and we're going to talk about that next week on the Design Time. But for this particular style and budget, the baker's fern leatherleaf fits really well. It takes the paint really well, and it holds up, especially when you buy your products from a reputable vendor like FernTrust. Make sure that you, again, let this dry, that you layer the paints on there so that you don't burn the foliage with all the chemical from the paint. Reach outside your box when it comes to using everyday foliages and coming up with something that's new and fresh. Remember, everyone's looking. Once you get this done, you might want to share it on your social media to let your customers know how you did it and to teach them that you're the #1 place to stop in and get something different and unusual. Color your everyday a little bit more just by adding that spot of beautiful Design Master and Smithers Oasis paints. Thanks so much for joining us, and join us again next time for Design Time. If you enjoyed that video and you want to see more, click the subscribe button.